We're going to get started now. The members will take their seats. Any visitors or guests, if they can retire behind the rail, we will get started with our session today. To give our invocation this morning, the chair recognizes Rashad, Amir of the United Muslim Masjid. He is here today as the guest of Councilman Jones. I would ask all members and guests and members to please rise.
Good morning.
Morning.
In the name of Almighty God, Allah, most gracious, most merciful. Praise be to God, the cherisher and the sustainer of the worlds, most gracious, most merciful. Master of the day of judgment, you alone do we worship, and your aid do we seek. Show us the straight way, the way of those on whom you have bestowed your grace, those whose portion is not wrath, and those who go not astray. Dear all-hearing and merciful God, we beseech your blessings upon the council who have been gathered here today and called as leaders of this great city, which derives its name from the Greek phrase philos adelphos, ironically, so named by an English Quaker seeking refuge from religious persecution from his homeland. Like its founder, we call upon these great members of City Council to lead this city of brotherly love, to defy with temerity those who would dare use hatred in the form of anti-Semitism, nationalism, Islamophobia, homophobia, or any other phobia or ism, and weaponize it. That we reject that ideology in favor of love for peace, true justice, and mankind. This is the month of Ramadan, in which the Quran was revealed to our dear Prophet Muhammad, the prayers and the peace be upon him, and a guide and a criterion for all of mankind. Ramadan is also the month when Muslims pray extra prayers, fast 29 or 30 days, and wish goodwill to all men. So we pray, Almighty God, to unite this council, to uplift this city with its leadership, empower them to serve its people in a manner befitting his continent in an era of social justice turmoil and uncertainty. Guide them with the insight to legislate justly, not just for law and order, but to maintain this city and elevate it to its greatest heights. This city and its leadership were formed to be a beacon and a model of brotherly love to the region and the nation. Almighty God, remind them that they are not only leaders, but also servants, and that it is their responsibility, as it is all of ours, to serve the city of Philadelphia and the common good. Remind them that no matter where we live, everyone, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, Muslim, Jew, Christian, Hindu, Sikh, or atheist, is our neighbor, brother in humanity, and that throughout the ages, that God, through his prophets, has called the leaders of the people to respect and protect the least of us who are able to protect ourselves. Grant them and us the wisdom and the courage to know what is right, good, and true. May they and we speak out when it is time to speak out, and listen when it is time to listen. May they and we always be guided by the spirit of community, by the spirit of justice, and by the spirit of love. This we pray in the name of all that we hold sacred and holy, all that we hold good and true. And as the Christians and the Jews say, Amen, we the Muslims say in solidarity with you, Ameen. Thank you, and may God bless you all and bless this city council and everyone in its range.
Thank you. Thank you, Amir, so much for those inspiring words. Appreciate it. Thank you again, Amir. Our next order of business is the approval of the journal of the meeting of Thursday, May 9th, 2019, and the chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the journal of the meeting of Thursday, May 9th, 2019 be approved.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly seconded that the journal of the meeting of Thursday, May 9th, 2019 stand approved. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and the journal is approved. And our next order of business is request for leave of absence, and the chair recognizes Councilman Heenan.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the majority, there are no requests for leave of absence today.
Chair thanks the gentleman, and the chair now recognizes Councilman O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the Republicans, there are no requests for leave of absence.
Chair thanks the gentleman. At this time, I would like to dispense with a regular order of business, and I would like to say how much we genuinely appreciate you being here today. We really appreciate the fact that you're here to witness your government in action. So we hope your stay here today is a pleasurable one and a knowledgeable one. Thank you all so much for being here. At this time, the chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee, who will present a resolution honoring Coach Fran Dunphy. Would Coach Dunphy and those accompanying him please join the councilman at the podium? And joining Councilman Greenlee, we have Councilman Green and Councilwoman Bass. Okay. It's a temple contingent. All right.
Okay.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Hold on a second, folks. Keep it a little quiet, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before we present the resolution, I also want to acknowledge, there he is back there, one of our friends, former state representative George Kenny, who's now with Temple University. Sir, nice to see you. He made me say that. Those of us who are college basketball fans know a lot that the Big Five basketball is revered, and it's revered certainly for its all its great players over the last number of decades, but also for its great coaches. And the gentleman we're honoring today is right at the top of that list. This is a resolution honoring Coach Fran Dunphy for his outstanding career as a coach, mentor, and educator. Whereas, after graduating from Malvern Prep, Dunphy was a star player with the LaSalle Explorers, including serving as a co-captain his senior year, where he averaged 18.6 points per game and led the team in assists. And whereas Coach Dunphy began his coaching career in 1971 as an assistant at the United States Military Academy, and his other assistant coaching stops included his alma mater, plus the University of Maryland and the University of Pennsylvania. And
whereas, in 1989, he was named the 16th head coach at Penn, where he would go on to compile a 310 to 168 overall record in his 17-year career. His Quakers teams won an unprecedented 48 straight Ivy League games from 1992 to 1996. He won 10 Ivy League titles in his career at Penn and was inducted into the university's Hall of Fame. And whereas on April 10th, 2006, Coach Dunphy became the first person to serve as the head men's basketball coach at 2 Philadelphia Big Five institutions, when he took over the reins of Temple's program from Hall of Fame coach John Chaney. And whereas his extremely successful tenure coaching the Owls included ranking 3rd on the school's win list, earning American Athletic Conference Coach of the Year 3 times, guiding the team to 8 NCAA tournaments, 5 conference titles, and victories over 7 top 10 teams. And
whereas one of the most respected coaches in the nation, Dunphy has coached 8 Conference Players of the Year, 3 Conference Rookies of the Year, 5 perfect conference seasons, and 54 all-conference honorees. And whereas Coach Dunphy finished his career with an overall record of 580 wins and 328 losses, including a 270 to 165 record at Temple and an induction in the Big Five Hall of Fame. And whereas Dunphy is also in his 12th year of teaching at Temple's prestigious Fox School of Business, and is very active in the Coaches vs. Cancer campaign and the Big Brothers Big Sisters program. Now therefore be it.
Resolved that the City Council of Philadelphia hereby honors and congratulates Coach Fran Dunphy for his many dedicated and successful years of coaching and wish him all the best in the future. Further resolved, an engrossed copy of this resolution be presented to Coach Dunphy as evidence of the sincere sentiment of this legislative body. Coach, thank you and congratulations for all those many years in service to the city. Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it.
And the chair recognizes Coach Dunphy for remarks.
Thank you, President Clark. I appreciate it. I'm happy to be here this morning. This is a bit humbling, to be honest with you. I was interested in watching all of the festivities that went on in the other room, and I'm reminded that all of you as city council members are coaches of sorts. You have big staffs and you have people that you answer to, people that you're trying to make better, your lives better, the communities better. And everybody's got a song to sing, and we must listen to those songs. It's interesting to watch it. I'm grateful for my time here. I'm always grateful for my time coming to City Hall. It's a spectacular edifice, and one that I think people should see. I think we all drive past it often. I don't think we appreciate it quite for all that it does. And I'm grateful for what all of you do. You give your constituents your time. It's your greatest asset, and it's your time. And I think all of us would be grateful for that. These are all jobs that are not easy. I appreciate that. I understand it. The last thing I wanted to just get across to all of you is yesterday, it was a culmination of a life well led. Last week, we lost a great Philadelphian in David Montgomery of the Philadelphia Phillies. So yesterday was his funeral service. There was no greater man in my mind, how he lived his life, and it was always for others. It was never about David. And to do the things that he did as the chairperson of the Philadelphia Phillies and what he brought to his work every single day was just extraordinary. And when he was asked by one of the journalists in Philadelphia, Jim Salisbury, how he would like to be remembered, it was interesting, his comment. And he thought for a second, and he said, there's a statue right around City Hall of John Wanamaker. And at the bottom of that statue is one word, and that word is citizen. And if we could all be the kind of citizen that Wanamaker was, most assuredly the kind of citizen that David Montgomery was, then we would have a better Philadelphia and a better society and a better community. And I think we all look to that. Again, grateful for all of the work that you do, grateful for what Philadelphia brings to all of us, whether you live in the city or you live around the city. We're all Philadelphians just trying to do the very best that we can. And if we have that one word in our lexicon and we use it and we live by it, we'd be all better off. But as a Philadelphian, and I've worked 35 of my last 40 years in the city, we're not perfect, but we sure try like crazy. And I'm grateful for that, and I appreciate today and all of you, those people sitting in the background, as well as all 17 of you who do such great work for the city. I thank you for this resolution. I'm very appreciative. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Councilor Biddies. Thank you, and congratulations. At this time, the chair recognizes Councilman Squilla, who will present a resolution honoring PATCO with John Rink, and those accompanying him, please join the councilman at the podium. And joining Councilman Squilla, we have Councilwoman Parker, Councilman Dom, and Councilwoman Bass, and Councilman Green, and Councilman Taubenberger, Councilwoman Blackwell, and Councilman Greenlee, and Councilman Heenan.
Good morning, everyone. And thank you for being here. As you see on your desk, there's a little red bag there that will give you just a little remembrance of the 50th anniversary of PATCO, which we're celebrating today in this resolution. A great transit agency. We're honoring the Port Authority Transit Corporation, PATCO, on the occasion of their 50th anniversary.
Whereas the Port Authority Transit Corporation, PATCO, high-speed line began operation in 1969, was the first of an entirely new generation of mass transportation. The rail line provided South Jersey commuters with a quick, inexpensive, and reliable trip to Philadelphia. The high-speed rail line provided an original running time of 22 minutes from Lindenwold to 15th and 16th Street and Locust in Philadelphia. Similar trips by car and bus were 45 and 60 minutes respectively. And
whereas the vehicles were automated trains which operated on a dedicated right-of-way at speeds far exceeding those in neighborhood streets. PATCO was the first rail line in the country to offer a direct challenge to private automobile, a remarkable achievement and one of the deep significance for the future of commuters in the United States. And
whereas the new vehicles were completely automated, the train operators only had to push a button to start the train and to open and close doors at each station. The operators also had the ability to stop the train in an emergency and operate under manual control. Under normal operation, the train is controlled by signals transmitted through the rails, which allow the PATCO trains to operate at original speed of 75 miles per hour. And
whereas personal comfort was provided for the public, the cars were designed to be spacious, extra wide doors allowed passengers to enter and exit, temperature and humidity control, as well as enough seats for all passengers.
Seats were designed to be roomiest seats ever. Seating was also designed to fit the passenger's body better. And
whereas train operation was created to operate at a frequency such that commuters had little time to sit around the station. What few minutes commuters did have were spent in pleasant modern stations. The air-conditioned station interiors were designed to feature a clean line combination of glass, tile, and concrete, materials believed to be attractively utilized and easy to maintain. Glass-bordered entrances and head houses projected an effect of spaciousness. And
just a point of personal privilege, a very dear friend of mine, Fred Williams, was a 20-year plus veteran of PATCO High Speed as an employee. Whereas, to attract the stations, ample parking was provided at each station. Parking lots were created with ample lighting, fully paved drop-off locations, which were referred to as kiss and ride stops, which allowed commuters to be driven to the station, dropped off, and picked up. Whereas, over the 50 years of service, PATCO has undergone changes to well, we're going to Cindy is Councilwoman Bass is next.
Whereas, over the 50 years of service, PATCO has undergone changes to adapt to the success it has generated. Parking lots have been expanded to accommodate the increased number of commuters driving to the stations. Stations have been modernized and improved with the installation of elevators and signage. Woodcrest Station was constructed in 1980 with a direct connection to Interstate 295. The fare collection system was replaced with a modern system which is integrated with SEPTA's fare collection system, and all transit vehicles have been overhauled and installed with modern systems. And
whereas PATCO continues to provide the level of service which is set out to create 50 years ago. In order to maintain the level of service, continued maintenance and repair, along with improvements to infrastructure, are required to perform every day. The work which PATCO employees perform on the equipment and infrastructure will ensure that the line will continue to operate as intended for the next 50 years. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Philadelphia that we hereby honor the Port Authority Transit Corporation on the occasion of their 50th anniversary. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm sorry. We're conducting business. Chair recognizes Mr. Rink for remarks.
Thank you, Council President
You're welcome,
Clark,
sir.
Councilman Squilla, members of council. It's an honor to be here to accept this resolution on behalf of our Board of Commissioners, our CEO and President John Hanson, the over 350 PATCO employees, and more importantly, our customers. For over 50 years, we've connected South Jersey to the city of Philadelphia, moving over 10.8 million people each year either to work, attend school at a higher learning institution in the region, use one of the various hospitals, and more importantly, all the cultural activities this region has to offer. So it's an honor and privilege that you recognize PATCO as an important part of the city of Philadelphia and this region. And again, thank you for this honor.
Thank you. Councilman be at ease. Thank you and congratulations. At this time, the chair recognizes Councilman Squilla again, who will present a resolution recognizing Maurice German. Would Mr. Germain and those accompanying him please join the councilman at the podium? And joining Councilman Squilla, we have Councilman Greenlee, Councilman Heenan, Councilwoman Guiones Sanchez, and Councilman Green, and Councilwoman Parker.
Good morning, and thank you again for being here. This resolution is sent to a person who really had his heart in the right place to do the right thing at the right time. And it's something that sometimes does get overlooked, but in this case, we wanted to make sure that people know that there are great citizens out there in our city and that they should be recognized. And that is why today we're recognizing and honoring Maurice German for literally going above and beyond the call of duty to rescue an animal in distress.
And whereas Mr. German is a lifelong Philadelphian who grew up in North Philadelphia and now resides in West Oak Lane, Mr. German has an associate's degree from Community College of Philadelphia and 2 daughters, ages 19 and 18. His oldest is a college junior and his youngest a high school senior. And
whereas Mr. German is a member of the Communication Workers of America, CWA Local 1300, and started as a lineman with Verizon in 2007, where his duties included replacing copper and fiber cables, utility poles, guide wires, support wires from pole to pole, conduit, and occasional pet rescue. And
whereas Mr. German and his crew were working in the Port Richmond neighborhood on Saturday, March 16th, when he was approached by a neighbor with a strange request for help. It seems that a cat, Mama, somehow climbed to the top of a utility pole and was stuck since 9:30 p.m. the night before. And
whereas Mama's owner tried unsuccessfully to rescue her from the top of the utility pole for several hours Friday evening. And whereas Mr. German and his crew, after completing their current job in the area, set up their safety zone around the bucket truck and used their specific training and skill set to rescue Mama from the top of the utility pole. And
whereas Mr. German and crew were able to reunite Mama safely to the arms of her owner, while a gathered crowd cheered and thanked this Verizon crew for going above and beyond to aid an animal in this time of need. And whereas after the cheers, several thank yous, and a few pictures, Mr. German and his crew, like most heroes, rode off into the sunset to finish the rest of their workday. Now therefore be it
Resolved by the Council of the City of Philadelphia that is hereby recognize and honor Maurice German for his selflessness and compassion for an animal in need. Further resolved that an engrossed copy of this resolution be presented to Maurice German, furthering evidence the sincere sentiment of this legislative body. Congratulations.
The chair recognizes Mr. German for remarks.
Good morning, everyone. I would like to thank my union, CWA, the ACCT of Philadelphia, PETA, and my mother, Sharon German, and just say thank you for everything, all the support.
We would just like to thank City Council for recognizing the work that Maurice did. Thank Council President Clark and all the members of Council. Maurice did this selfless act and just continued on in his workday, not realizing, that there was anything than just doing what was right. And he did what was right that day, and we really appreciate it. And thank you very much, Maurice.
Councilman Biddies. Thank you and congratulations. Our next order of business is communications, and the chair requests that the Sergeant of Arms delivers the messages from the mayor to the chief clerk. Mr. Decker, please read those messages.
To the President and members of the Council of the City of Philadelphia, I am pleased to advise you that on May 15, 2019, I signed all the bills which were passed by Council at a session on May 2, 2019, except Bill numbers 180998 and 190231, which I am returning without my signature. And I am submitting herewith to the consideration of your honorable body a resolution approving the reappointment of Rashad Johnson to the Philadelphia Water, Sewer, and Stormwater Rate Board, and an ordinance authorizing the Streets Commissioner and Procurement Commissioner to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the Philadelphia Municipal Authority, through which the city will assume certain rights and obligations under an agreement the authority will enter into with Waste Management of Pennsylvania Incorporated for the processing and marketing of recyclable materials, all under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. Those messages will be printed in today's journal. Do you have any additional communication?
I have none, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Our next order of business is introduction of bills and resolutions. And the chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Yes, Mr. President, good morning, good morning. I offer one resolution this morning.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
A privilege resolution recognizing Sarah Glover for her historic tenure as the 21st President of the National Association of Black Journalists.
And that will be on today's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no bills or resolutions today.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. President. On your behalf, I offer two bills.
Thank you, Councilman.
An ordinance authorizing Renee Woodland to own and maintain an existing oversized balcony in the public right-of-way at 1438 North 29th Street. And an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Aspen Street, 26th Street, and Pennsylvania Avenue.
That will be on referred to committee. Chair recognizes Councilman Heenan.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Hold on a second, Councilman. Folks, can I ask you to please keep your voices down? All right. If you want to talk, you can go in the hallway, please. Thank you. Mr. Decker. Chair recognizes Councilman Heenan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today I offer two resolutions, one on your behalf.
Thank you, Councilman.
A privilege resolution recognizing May 20 to May 26, 2019 as National Emergency Medical Services Week in the City of Philadelphia and further honoring Philadelphia Paramedic of the Year, Christian Appel.
Today's calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution approving the reappointment of Rashad Johnson to the Philadelphia Water, Sewer, and Stormwater Rate Board.
And that will be on next week's calendar. Well, that will be referred to committee, actually. Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Mr. President, today I offer two bills and one privileged and non-privileged resolutions.
Thank you, Councilman.
An ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by 56th Street, Poplar Street, 55th Street, and Cambridge Street.
Further committee.
And an ordinance amending Title 14 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Zoning and Planning to revise certain provisions of Section 14504 entitled NCO Neighborhood Conservation Overlay District.
Further committee.
And a privilege resolution recognizing the Philadelphia Muslim community and acknowledging May 5, 2019 through June 4, 2019 as the holy month of Ramadan.
Today's calendar. Is that it?
And a non-privileged resolution supporting the creation of a Citizens Commission for Legislative and Congressional Redistricting.
And that will be on next week's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Council President, I have three bills.
Thank you, Councilman.
You're welcome.
An ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by 57th Street, Springfield Avenue, Cobbs Creek Parkway, and Woodland Avenue.
Refer to committee.
And an ordinance amending Section 9213 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Farmers Markets by adding a permissible location on South Broad Street. And an ordinance regulating the direction of movement of traffic on certain portions of 85th and 86th Streets, Eastwick Avenue, and Harley and Luther Places.
Those three bills just read by the Chief Clerk will be referred to the appropriate committees. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Kiona Sanchez.
Good morning, Council President. No bills or resolutions.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Good morning, Council President. I have one bill and one privileged resolution.
Thank you, Councilman.
An ordinance approving city participation in the Commonwealth's Property Assessed Clean Energy Program.
For the committee.
And a privilege resolution authorizing the Committee on Commerce and Economic Development to hold hearings regarding the PHL Neighborhood Growth Project.
Today's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no bills or resolutions.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilman Down.
Thank you, Mr. President. No bills or resolutions today.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gibb.
Thank you, Council President. I have no bills or resolutions.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilman Taubenberger.
Thank you, Council President. I have one privileged resolution, and it's co-sponsored by all members of council.
Thank you, Councilman.
A privilege resolution declaring May 2019 as Older Americans Month and recognizing the contributions of older Americans in the city of Philadelphia.
Today's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilman O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no bills or resolutions.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer two bills.
Thank you, Councilman.
An ordinance authorizing the Streets Commissioner and Procurement Commissioner on behalf of the city to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the Philadelphia Municipal Authority through which the city will assume certain rights and obligations under an agreement the authority will enter into with Waste Management of Pennsylvania Incorporated for the processing and marketing of recyclable materials.
Further committee.
And an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Walnut Street, Front Street, South Street, and 8th Street.
Further committee. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no bills or resolutions.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you, Council President. I offer three privilege resolutions co-sponsored by council members Squilla, Taubenberger, Bass, and Don.
Thank you, Councilman.
A privilege resolution authorizing the City Council's Committee on Streets and Services to hold public hearings regarding accountability for the state of road surfaces in Philadelphia.
And that will be on today's calendar.
And a privilege resolution welcoming the esteemed LRRP Rangers of I Company 75th Rangers to Philadelphia on the occasion of their national convention and thanking them for their distinguished service.
Today's calendar.
And a privilege resolution recognizing the United States Army for providing for the safety and security of the nation since its creation in the city of Philadelphia 244 years ago.
Also, today's calendar. That concludes our introduction of bills and resolutions. And our next order of business would be reports from committee, but we have no reports from committee today. So our next order of business is consideration of the calendar. There being no bills on the first reading calendar, the chair recognizes Councilman Heenan for the purpose of calling up bills and resolutions that are on our final passes calendar today.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the rules of council be suspended to permit the use of a consent agenda to consider the following bills on the second reading final passage calendars today. There are bill numbers 190-353, 180-950, 181-009, 181-046, 190-085, 190-103, 190-104, 190-105, 190-121, 190-184, 190-209, 190-210.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly second that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit the use of a consent agenda to consider the bills just read by Councilman Heenan. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. The motion carries, and we will consider the consent agenda shortly. The chair again recognizes Councilman Heenan for the purpose of calling up bills and resolutions on the regular second reading and final passage calendar today.
Thank you, Mr. President. In addition to the bills being considered on the consent agenda, the following resolutions and bills are being called up for the second reading and final passage calendar today. They are bill numbers and resolution numbers 190242, 190346-A, 190372, 190387, 190391, 190392, 190395, and 190315, as well as 190316. All other bills and resolutions are being held.
Thank you, Councilman. Uh, 2 minutes. Okay. Our next order of business is going to be public comment. We're going to make a slight revision today because of the volume of individuals that we have testifying today. We will be cutting the time frame from your testimony from 3 to 2. That will enable us to get everyone on because there are a lot of people that want to testify. Council has engagement, and I call it that. We're actually supposed to be at the Veterans Affairs initiative across the street. There's a Veterans Fair that we're all supposed to be there to present members from our veteran community. and we might run into a timing issue where we might have to take a short recess, do our obligation to our heroes, with the veterans, and then come back to continue this. So we'll just have to see how this plays out during the course of the public comment. So the public comment will go as follows. When your name is called, you will go to the middle of the council chambers. There's a podium. There's a device on that podium. When the light turns green, it will be your time to speak. When the light turns yellow, you will have 30 seconds to conclude your remarks. When the light turns red, we're asking you to please adhere to our guidelines, given the volume of people from a timing perspective, to acknowledge that guideline and conclude your remarks. Okay? So again, we're asking you to please shift your testimony to reflect 2 minutes. Mr. Decker, please call the first name on the list.
Abby Stomakin.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Hello, my name is Abby Stomakin, and I'm a Philadelphia... Sorry? Hello, my name is Abby Stomakin, and I'm a Philadelphia School District public school teacher. I deal with foster care youth on a daily basis, and it affects not only my job, but my family. Statistics show that Pennsylvania's State of the Welfare 2017 report that 8,020 children were entered into foster care in 2016. It shows that the number of children entered into foster care has risen by 32% since 2012. The abuse report in 2016 also shows that 5,567 cases of child abuse were taken. Out of those 5,000 cases, 847 were substantiated. That means that 55% of the children in foster care families were in those reports. The statistics get worse when 247 were repeated cases. It also shows that 503 of them were female and 344 were male. Alarmingly, 995 cases were screened out by insufficient information, which leaves no information about why they were taken out. In those 2,272 people that applied to be foster care parents, they were declined because they were perpetuated and substantiated perpetrators. What people need to realize is that these numbers are not just numbers, they are children. These statistics are real, and they are reality that these children go through. They wake up to them, they go to school to them, and they come back to those same situations. An article in Education Stability for Youth in Foster Care states that less than 1/3 of those students that change one time in high school do not graduate. And that is detrimental because our graduation rate in Philadelphia is 67%. What I have to say is that Philadelphia, there are 32.677 Pennsylvania foster care youth in the population. And that accurate means that next year, 10,567 of them will be in here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your testimony.
Craig Sokolov.
Mr.
Commenting
Decker,
on 190346.
can you just call like 3 people so they can be teed up? So we.
All right. Good afternoon. My name is Craig
Afternoon.
Sokolow. I'm an attorney who works in the court system. I'm on the Will. I represent over 250 families. 55 children are on the child advocate. I believe that we should pass Resolution 190346 and have a committee chaired by Councilman O and Cindy Bass. Let me give you some of the examples of how we could save money in DHS and what one judge did. We had a case where a child was taken away from a parent. We were going to give the child back to the parent. Cost $350 to give him a water heater. DHS said no. So the child had to remain in care until that water heater was purchased. Finally, the judge in that case said, we're wasting money. $38,000 a year to put that child in to be cared for. He ordered that the water heater that cost $350 being installed, the child was returned to the parent. And DHS objected to that. Another case is where a child was not given to their kinship parents. DHS didn't know family finding. We have 10 people who would have taken the people. That case is still pending, so I can't talk about that. But DHS must look at practical solutions which would save money. Therefore, I ask for 190346 to be passed unanimously.
Thanks for your testimony.
Cara Fetti, Caroline Hill, followed by Yolanda Bryant.
Hello,
Good afternoon.
thank you. I am here to encourage the resolution number 190346 to be passed and chaired by David O. and Cindy Bass. They are definitely for the children. They are only looking at their best interest. And I kind of stick out as a sore thumb in this process, as I'm actually an adoptive parent, not a biological parent. But DHS came in and they stole my intended adoptive son and allowed a private agency to take him with no custody order or court order and send him to the Netherlands. We're sending our own children out of this country, and I'm curious to know how many of these biological parents have been affected even by that. But the fact that it's even happening to us as adoptive parents and foster parents, DHS is intimidating us. They are threatening us by affecting other adoptions that we're in the process of. They're threatening us by making sure that we can't support these children who do need to come into care. And they are making sure that we are the ones who are shown as being vindictive and selfish. So I strongly encourage the resolution to be passed. It has to be passed. We have to protect these kids. It is all about them and nobody else.
Thank you for your testimony.
Caroline Hill.
Hi, my name is Carolyn Hill. I'm with Every Mother is a Working Mother. I'm here to say, to tell y'all that I had two nieces that DHS gave me in 2011, 2012. They came and took them from me for no odd reason. They went to court. That week of Easter, they took the kids. I couldn't get in touch with nobody. Everybody on vacation. That following Monday, we goes to court. They says in courts, they lies. They telling people, they telling the judge, I had mental issues, financial, business, being evicted and everything. And I had been in my home for over 20 years. And the judge tells me whatever I hear in court, don't say nothing. So I had to sit there and listen to these people lie on me about my nieces. DHS came in my home, seen the kids, which was there for a year, and tell me that they're doing good, they're looking well, and then months later they come and take them out of my home for no reason at all. I had permissions to see them, to visit them, and then they would come to my home. Then one night they came to my home and my niece, she's 1 year old, she told the DHS worker, bye-bye, see you, you know, like telling the man to go ahead on, we home. And then when they get back where they at, they throw a tantrum, so they stopped the communication with me and my nieces. They just stopped the visitation because the kids was acting out. These kids wasn't just acting out. They know where they wanted to be at. They wanted to be home with me where they had been for a whole year. And one of the nieces was so traumatized that she was seeing a therapist, and the therapist told them if they removed her again, that she would have a setback. And she did have a setback after they removed her, and her hair fell out, she lost weight and everything. And I just was here to support the bill of investigate why these kids was taken out of my home. And that's all I had to say.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
My name is Rashida Hassan. I'm also standing asking that.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, what's your name again?
Rashida Hassan. I'm a mother who also have 9 children.
All right, so
in care.
was your name called?
No,
Yolanda Bryant.
All right, so we got to get some clarity. We've tried to be as
Yolanda
fair as
Bryant.
possible. Your name has to be called for you to testify. All right, so we can't have everybody testifying today. So only if your name is called.
Yolanda Bryant.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Yolanda Bryant. I'm a grandmother of two kids. On October the 18th, I had took to St. Christopher's Hospital. My two grandkids was being physical assaulted and sexually molested, 10 and 5 years old. The hospital had notified DHS because my grandkids was at a location that was at a mental health facility when I had got the text messages. And when the DHS people had got there, they said a supervisor had told them that the children wasn't able to come home with me. From there, when we went to the court, the supervisor had brought the molester to court, which is the perpetrator that did this to the two children, and the supervisor turned out to be the aunt. He have a sister that's in DHS too, that's under the commissioner that works there. From there, I wasn't allowed to go in no courtrooms. They put the sheriff there with all the evidence that was being seen. They never let nothing be seen. On December the 3rd, my two-year-old granddaughter that I had from birth that was never under DHS, she was given to me by social workers from the hospital for my daughter with mental health. They came to my house they was upset because I kept coming to every court date, and they removed her from the court, from my home. They falsified so many reports. They said the child was in endangerment. They said the child, they changed her last name. It was so many things that they had did. They never implicated him. And I just feel though this resolution is, reform is best to have. They acting as, the DHS is acting as they are the SVU unit, as they polices, as the judge. They making decisions that they don't have decisions to make. On March the 24th, I had got a phone call from the DHS, and the DHS has said that they never checked the guy out that did it and said that I was indicated. And I said, how was I indicated from just picking up the kids to take the children to the hospital? If we don't have a reform or something better,
You got to wrap it up. Lights red.
All right.
Thank you.
The next 5 speakers commenting on 190315 and
No.
190316.
Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Will please approach the podium. Lola Oladapo, Reverend Gregory Holston, Gabe Morgan, and Gina Kane.
Good afternoon, City Council. My name is Lola Oladapo. I'm a Philadelphia resident and serve as a volunteer civic trustee with the Campaign for Civic Cities, a national initiative designed to bring civics back into our schools and communities. As a civic trustee, I, along with 23 other civic trustees, took an oath to leave our city better than what we found it. We do this by taking a no-blame approach to solving the city's most intractable issues. We meet monthly to engage in solution-based conversations, then bring these solutions to our representatives for consideration. We are currently looking to reduce the poverty rate here in Philadelphia. We recently learned through a 2018 study done by the Pew Charitable Trust that we are the largest poor city in the nation, with some 25% of the 400,000 residents living in poverty, half of which living in deep poverty. We recognize that there are multiple reasons for why our poverty rates are so high, from the lack of livable wage jobs to inadequate skills for the current industries that make up our economic landscape. That being said, we believe that one of the biggest drivers of our city's poverty rates and the economic insecurity experienced by Philadelphians, which is often overlooked, is our at-will employment law. As an at-will employment law state, employers have the power to terminate a person for no reason, any reason, as well as for immoral reasons. And there's very little a terminated person can do unless they fall into a protected class. If Philadelphia residents are ever going to pull themselves out of poverty, they need a fair work week, thank you Councilwoman Helen Gim, a livable wage, and job stability. We are here to stand with the parking attendants and demand that you guys pass just cause legislation.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Reverend Gregory Holston, also commenting on 190315 and 190316.
Good afternoon.
Hello, my name is Reverend Gregory Holston. I'm the Executive Director of POWER. POWER is Philadelphians Organized to Witness, Empower, and Rebuild 65 congregations across the city of Philadelphia and the surrounding areas. In 2016, POWER put on what was called a Poverty Summit, which we issued a report called Black Work Matters. In that report, we listed and talked about the poverty in the city of Philadelphia as at a 25%, now 26% rate, almost 400,000 people living in poverty, almost 200,000 living in deep poverty, and at that time, that was roughly $5,500 a year for an individual. We recognize that unless we empowered service workers all across this city and made service work work that was good jobs at good wages that could sustain families, unless we did that and made service workers the manufacturing jobs of today, that we would always be the biggest, poorest city in this country. And so we believe the bill here today of just cause and making sure staffing is up to par in the parking industry is taking one more step in the right direction of protecting service workers and lifting up service workers in this city. When we stand with workers and make sure that they have a living wage, when we make sure that they're not fired for just no reason or any reason at all, when we stand with workers and make sure that they're safe on the job so that they're so afraid they don't even afraid to go to work, when we stand with workers and believe with workers and hope with workers and build a better place with workers, we can make the change in our city. Power stands with SEIU and all of the parking attendants today to make a better place in the city of Philadelphia.
Thanks for your testimony.
Also commenting on 190315 and 190316 are Gabe Morgan, followed by Gina Kane.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Gabe Morgan, followed by Gina Kane.
That's Gina Kane. My name is Gabe Morgan. I'm the director of SAU 32BJ, which represents almost 20,000 property service workers here in Philadelphia, 175,000 property service workers in the Eastern Seaboard. I'm here today to support the parking regulations that have been put in front of this council with the support and the advocacy of Councilman Sherrell Parker, the support of Derek Green, Councilman Sanchez, and Councilman Genn, who have put forth this legislation which could really help a group of about 2,000 working poor people in this city. These are the folks who take care of people's cars, who come into Center City and into West Philly, work under poverty wages in terrible conditions in lots throughout the city. This legislation would do two things. One, it would make sure that an industry with a track record of mistreating workers finally has to abide by some basic standards to ensure some form of dignity on the job for people who desperately deserve it. Folks who came to this country seeking the American dream, folks who are just simply trying to pull their poverty out of family, often working 2 or 3 jobs. That's what Just Cause would provide for workers. The second is safety. This is an industry where workers are routinely left alone and customers are left alone in parking lots. And I just point out, just 2 weeks ago in the newspaper, there was an incident with someone wielding a machete who tried to take someone hostage at a parking lot in Philly. Routinely in the papers we see where lots are understaffed, they become places where violence happens. Violence to workers, also violence to customers. And so there's also legislation, in addition to treating workers well, that will also allow there to be minimum staffing to make sure workers and customers are not in an unsafe situation and have a way to notify the city if they are. So I want to thank council and everyone who's led this effort. We really look to council in these times to try and lead on behalf of working poor people when our federal government will not. This council has done that for airport workers, has done that for security officers, has done that for cleaners, and we hope you'll lead again to help parking workers as they try and fight their way out of poverty. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Gina Kane.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank
Morning.
you to the
Good
council
afternoon.
members. For afternoon, sorry. Good morning, for taking the time to hear my concerns. I am Gina Kane. I work at the parking attendant. I worked at DLC for the position of 5 years. It'll be 6 years next month. I'm a mother. I'm a grandmother. Some days I fear for my life working at this job. There are not enough workers. I work from 10 to 6. I'm by myself on a job. I work in a booth. I have to lock the doors. Sometimes the garage is open that for any access of anybody that can come in. I have had homeless people come up to my window, banging on the window. I should not have to fear for my job. In the parking industry, we know that we can be fired or punished at any time for no reason. We work very hard and deserve to be treated with fairness. I get paid minimum wage. I'm 50 years old. I get paid $7.66. I started with $7.35. And it's not fair. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony.
Commenting on 190184 in this order, Randy Labasso, Jana Tidwell, and Nick Rogers. Please approach the podium.
Hello, thank you for taking our testimony.
Good afternoon.
My name is Randy. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay. My name is Randy Labasso. I work at the Bicycle Coalition of Greater Philadelphia. We support automated enforcement for Roosevelt Boulevard because we know it's been proven to make streets safer for everyone. Roosevelt Boulevard is the most dangerous street in Philadelphia. 21 people were killed in traffic last year on Roosevelt Boulevard. But I'm mostly here to represent a woman named LaTanya Bird, who in 2013 lost her niece and 3 of her nephews while they were crossing the street legally on Roosevelt Boulevard. For the past 3 years, LaTanya has been working to get this bill passed in Harrisburg and was successful. All right, so I have a message from LaTanya. Before I move on, I just want to let everybody know LaTanya's niece was named Samara Banks. 3 of Banks' children, Samir, Sashan, and Sadim, they were all killed on Roosevelt Boulevard, and LaTanya's made it her mission to get this passed. She sent me this text message earlier. The mission to support the installation of speed cameras on Roosevelt Boulevard has always been dedicated to saving lives. It has been a long journey, and the number of deaths due to speed has accelerated. I know it takes time to get this life-saving technology up and running. However, the next person's life at stake doesn't have time. Please think of our community of people. None of us want to be added to the number of deaths. We don't want any other family member's last memory of their loved one to be a traffic death that could have been prevented. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is Jana Tidwell. I'm the Manager of Public and Government Affairs for AAA Mid-Atlantic in southeastern Pennsylvania. Roosevelt Boulevard is arguably the most dangerous stretch of highway and the most deadliest here in Philadelphia, if not in the nation. Between 2013 and 2017, 139 people were killed or seriously injured, and over 2,700 crashes were reported. AAA supports Bill 190184 to pilot an automated speed camera program along Roosevelt Boulevard. A recent AAA poll of Philadelphia area residents indicates that more than half, 52%, support the use of automated speed enforcement to ticket drivers who exceed the posted speed limit. In addition, the same poll showed 21% of motorists believe that a divided highway is the most important location for speed cameras. AAA believes that when implemented with proper procedural safeguards and protections for motorists as outlined in this bill, automated speed camera systems can contribute to the goal of reducing unnecessary fatalities and promoting traffic safety for all users. AAA endorses the following safeguards that are included in this legislation: focus on safety, transparency, public access, flat contractor fees, police, not a contractor, overseeing the program, posted warning signs, and an 11-mile-per-hour speed limit. 11 miles an hour over the speed limit before the citation is issued. We urge Philadelphia City Council to pass 190184. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Nick Zawala Rogers. I'm the Transportation Program Director for Clean Air Council, and I'm here to represent both the council and the pedestrian advocacy organization Feet First Philly that we sponsor. We are here to strongly support the proposed automated enforcement on Roosevelt Boulevard. This is a key part of the city meeting any of its Vision Zero goals. The Roosevelt Boulevard is one of the deadliest roads in the country. It's received national coverage for how dangerous it is, and just on an average year, about one person dies there every month, and almost a half of them are pedestrians, greatly overrepresenting the pedestrian makeup of crashes on the boulevard. This automated enforcement is necessary because there's no good way for police to enforce speeding on the boulevard. There's nowhere to safely pull people over. So this automated enforcement, not only does this remove bias from enforcement, but it's also the only way to do this here. It would be very disappointing to stand by and do nothing any longer. We worked really hard to pass this at the state level, and we are really looking forward to the city implementing this important measure now. So again, both the council and Feet First Philly strongly support this bill, and we appreciate your time today. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Commenting on 181063, in this order, Rachel Barada, Salim Faison, and Owen Setiawan.
Hello, my name is Rachel. I will be speaking on Bill number 181063. I'm 14 and in 8th grade at Fax Charter School, about to enter high school. I currently live in South Philly. There are a lot of people like me, a young teenager living in South Philly. This means that there are a lot of people whose lives and futures are at stake. The science is clear. The only way we can avoid the worst impacts of climate change is to get off of fossil fuels such as coal, oil, and gas as soon as possible. However, PGW's proposal about LNG is instead saying to add another very strong fossil fuel, the liquefied natural gas plant. They want to do this where I and a bunch of other people live. If you accept this proposal, it will affect many people's lives, including the lives of children and teenagers who will have to suffer the most. Children and teenagers that many adults say are the future. Approving this massive new fossil fuel project will make it even more difficult for Philadelphia to do our part to solve climate change. So why is this project going in the other direction? This plant would only be 1 mile away from where I live. If this plant was agreed to, I would have to deal with breathing polluted air every day. I want the city council to think about how many lives it would affect before you vote on the LNG plant proposal. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Salim Faison. I will be speaking on Bill 181063. I go to Fax Charter School. I may not have asthma. It might not affect everybody in this room. but many people in Philadelphia do. Many of them come from low-income families. There's a question I need to ask you. How many lives must be sacrificed for you to realize that this LNG proposal is not a good idea? Would you rather have money than keep children alive? Be honest. Burning natural gas, even in liquid form, will release toxic chemicals into the air. These chemicals have been shown to cause problems such as asthma, lung cancer, and heart disease for many people. A lot of people that come from these neighborhoods of the LNG plant can't afford the medical help that they need. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Good afternoon. My name is Owen Satiawan, and I'm going to be speaking on Bill 181063. I'm currently an 8th grader living in South Philadelphia, where the proposed location for the planned liquefied natural gas facility will be just about a mile away from where I live. And I personally would like to ask every single city council member to deny this proposal because of all the effects that it would cause to our environment, all the effects that it would cause to human beings and animals alike. And being a part of the new generation is making me deeply concerned at the comparison of our energy consumption and the amount of effort we are placing into controlling the global climate crisis. This has become a crisis because of the only small decade we have left to make a major change to prevent irreversible damage. 1 decade to make an actual commitment. Now, if this issue were never tended to, then it would just be passed on to the next generation, right? Yeah, well, that's my generation. That's the young people on the streets of Philadelphia being taught how to prevent this issue when the adults are not working on it. And we're going to be facing droughts, floods, hurricanes, rising sea levels, and extinctions. And global warming won't only be affecting humans. It's going to be affecting animals who will die, and animals such as the bramblecay melomys, who've become the first mammal to be taken victim by climate change and have gone extinct. And you may be wondering now, why does an issue all the way on the other side of the world affect us in our small community in Philadelphia? If we pass this facility, we're going to send a symbol to the people of Philadelphia that we approve of this action, we approve of this behavior. But no, together we can stop this and we can help to create a better future for children. Thank you.
I'll do it. Okay, as I indicated earlier, we have to take a brief recess. We have an obligation across the street. We have to honor a number of veterans. So we're going to recess, and after the recess, we'll come back and conclude the public comment and the rest of the session. So if I can ask the members if we can go across the street to the plaza and do our pittance to our veterans. You want to make a motion? All right, let's do a formal motion.
At recess, adjourning back here in this council at 1:30.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor? Those opposed? Ayes. We'll be back. Properly seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. The motion carries, and Councilman Squilla has introduced one bill. It will be referred to committee.
An ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Tasker Street, 4th Street, Porter Street, and 9th Street.
Thank you. Refer to committee. And I'd like to recognize a good friend from Harrisburg. I believe he's came here to get some sanity. I'm sorry my friend. I digress. State Representative Kinsey, thank you for being here today. I know I'm going to hear about that. Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Yeah, thank you, Council President. I was going to acknowledge Representative Kinsey, who's also chair of the Pennsylvania Legislative Black Caucus. So thank you for joining us this afternoon, Representative Kinsey.
Thank you, Councilman. Okay, we're going to continue our public comment. Mr. Decker, call the first next name on the list.
Commenting on 190195 are Cecilia Reyes and Modesto Rodriguez. Please approach the podium.
Good afternoon, City Council and Council President Clark. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'm here today to support the confirming Council's agreement to propose the budget for the House Trust Fund related to affordable housing. Having a budget is an important part of City Council's responsibility, and as a small business owner, we have that in common. However, unlike the city, I am forced to deal with the budget I have. Sometimes more than half of my operating costs for sweetened beverages is going to tax. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Councilwoman Sanchez as well as the others that are supporting the repealing of this tax, which is devastating my business and the community. Instantly of expanding my business and hiring of new workers for my business. I'm fighting just to keep my doors open. For those who have not yet chosen to support the legislation, please reconsider, and thank you very much for your time.
Good afternoon.
My name is Modesto Rodriguez. I'm from NRC Mini Market and District 9 for Charlie Parker. Good afternoon, City Council and City Council President Clerk. I'm here today in support to the resolution confirming Council agreement for proposed budget expenditure for the Housing Trust Fund relating affordable housing. I have owned to the business NRC Mini Market for 4 years. We have 3 employees, so we're not hard store every day. I'm working my store. I have help to be close to the retirement, but because on the high tax, specifically the beverage tax, my business is not into taking out more and more of my time. I want to be spending more of my time and spend with my family, but I cannot that. Affordable to the city are getting worse in hard taxes like that sweet standard beverages tax. I'm making those into worth for both my business and the average resident of the city. Thank you for your time, Councilman Parker. Please consider supporting the legislation to the repeal beverage tax. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Commenting on 170408, Esther Joseph, Elaine Johnson, CC Philly, and Melissa Blatz.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
My name is Esther Joseph, and I am an early childhood educator here today representing Rising Sun Children's Center, a program under the Korean Community Center, and a proud participant in the City of Philadelphia's PHL Pre-K preschool program.
You talk about school suspension?
Yes. The bill that I am in support of today addresses the elimination of the suspension of elementary school age students from grades 1 to 5, but I would like to take it a step further and include preschool age children under that umbrella. With the impending Vote for Philadelphia leaders approaching, I'd like to address the council and everyone participating in this session to remind you all how vital preschool programs are for student retention and children's future educational success. The soda tax grants children this access through Philly Pre-K, and I thank the council members who recognize that. Access to quality preschool programs gives children an advantage when it comes to the formation of critical self-regulation skills and interpersonal skills. Skills that are essential at the elementary level in terms of being able to acclimate, accept change, build positive relationships, and resolve conflicts, and most importantly, remain in school. It's critical that the City of Philadelphia invests in our students in the early years now and not a second later to provide our children with the tools that they need. The soda tax is a wise investment that has had a more than worthy return. I know this because I see it every day when my preschoolers overcome challenges and gain new skills. I see it with the diverse families that I work with, the parents who do not qualify for state subsidized childcare who are now able to go to work knowing that their children are spending time in an enriching environment, and also the parents who come back and share their successes. The soda tax has allowed about 4,000 preschool children to receive high-quality education. Imagine how many more can be reached. I thank those council members who recognize the importance of the soda tax to continue to fund Philadelphia preschool programs, and I strongly urge those who do not to reconsider. Thank you for your time.
Elaine Johnson. Elaine Johnson.
Not here.
CC Philly. Commenting on 170408.
Hello. I'm CC Philly from 98.5 FM Uptown Radio. I came today to talk about the illegal gentrification that's happening up Roy and Huntington Park, but since that's not on the list, I picked something to speak about, and it's about the children's suspension. Okay. So schools are meant to stimulate and encourage children physically, intelligently, and social growth. These suspensions will lead to children being suspended later on in life. That's what the study showed in, I think it was Louisiana. It teaches children that there's a way out instead of dealing with their problems properly, and so forth. They have a day off. Most of the time, children are left unattended at home and are forced to be with people that don't want them. These children are less likely, right, stand up for DHS, the parents of DHS too. These children are also less likely to be referred to services, and support later on in life. You're also labeling children. Children need a chance. You have to teach children the right way in order for them to learn. By throwing them off to parents that have to work, it causes other problems at home. So I basically feel as though that you should look deeply more into it, because it says that 25% of the children that are suspended are African American males, which we know that our race, our culture, suffers from aggression from other people and different things like that. We need to have behavioral health specialists, mental health specialists in these schools instead of throwing these children to the wayside. That's all.
Thank you.
Melissa Blatz.
Good afternoon.
My name is Melissa Blatz. I am the Executive Director of Beautiful Beginnings Child Care Center. We have 2 locations in Northeast Philadelphia, one in Ronhurst and one in Holmesburg. Every child in Philadelphia deserves high-quality early childhood education, regardless of parents' working status, income level, race, or ethnicity. PHL Pre-K ensures that every Philadelphian child has a strong foundation for academic success. Who is PHL Pre-K? I want to talk numbers for a second. 2,250 children enrolled this year alone. At my program, we have 35 children. 70 parents are able to work. 3 are school district teachers. 2 are Philadelphia police officers. 1 is U.S. military. 2 mail carriers. 3 hospital employees. 2 self-employed small business owners. 1 student, and many more. 7 children currently have an individual education plan for special education. 3 children are foster children whose foster families do not qualify for state subsidy. 241 PHL pre-K teachers will be unemployed without this program funded by the sweetened beverage tax. Please consider all these numbers when signing on to bills that will directly impact these city residents and employees. Thank you, Bobby Heenan, Kenyatta Johnson, Sherelle Parker, and all other members of City Council for your support of the sweetened beverage tax and all the programs it has impacted. Thank you for not co-sponsoring the recently introduced bill number 190183. Your support is truly making a difference in our great city. Please consider who you are impacting when considering which bill to co-sponsor. The sweetened beverage tax is the only option that will continue to create a beautiful beginning to every child's future. Thank you.
Agbana Hagins.
Good morning, everyone. Obona Hagins, 5'8", to make Philly great. I want to talk about, I was going to talk about another resolution, but I'm going to talk about the resolution authorizing the establishment of a special committee on child separation in Philadelphia to investigate child separation in Philadelphia's child welfare system and develop recommendations to ensure compliance with state child protective services, law to protect children, and due process rights to families and prevent the unnecessary breakup of families. Councilman O. Councilman O. Thank you, Councilman O. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman Bass, who signed on to this. But, you know, you're looking out for black people. You're looking out for black people, and we thank you. The African American community thanks you for looking out for black people. Nobody else in city council that I see, and look at you guys. You're not even looking at me. You're not even looking at the people who are speaking to you. You have to show respect to the people that you're supposed to represent. And this is really indicative of this campaign season. Something that I've noticed is these commercials. What city are these commercials being produced in? I mean, you guys, I mean, look, I'm telling you, you're very nice. You look nice and everything like that, but you're faking the people out. You have these commercials with African Americans smiling. Really? What is there to smile about when every other block there's potholes? What is there to smile about when 6 out of 10 children in Philadelphia can't read, write, or do math on a high school level?
Thank you.
Yo, you guys need to be ashamed of buying the people. I got 3 minutes, right?
No, you got 2 minutes.
Why do I have 2 minutes?
Because your time is up.
But what I'm saying is this.
Sir.
You're lying to the people. The commercials.
Time is up. Time is up. Thank you. Ms. Higgins, there's 2 minutes. There's 2 minutes. You got 2 minutes, sir. You got 2 minutes.
Rebecca Womack.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony.
Rebecca Romack. Sarah Showman.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Womack.
Folks, hold on. Folks, can we get a little quiet, please? Thank you.
And I'm here today to express my support for the Fair Districts resolution that was introduced earlier by Councilman Jones and to thank him for his leadership in introducing it. Over the last several months, Fair Districts PA supporters have conducted constituent visits with council members to discuss this resolution. We also conducted a legislative briefing on April 29th. Gerrymandering is when voting districts are drawn to give an unfair advantage to political parties and to particular legislators. Current law allows Pennsylvania legislators to draw the districts in which they and members of their party seek election. This direct conflict of interest has led to Pennsylvania becoming one of the most gerrymandered states in the entire country. The fundamental problem with gerrymandering is that it allows legislators to choose their voters instead of the other way around. This is undemocratic. Regardless of which party is manipulating voting districts, and they both do, there are serious consequences for Philadelphians, including diminished electoral competition, governance divided by gridlock instead of problem solving, and voter disenfranchisement. The long-term solution for ending gerrymandering is an independent citizens commission for state legislative and congressional redistricting that must follow strict rules for fairness and transparency. The resolution introduced today affirms this. While only the Pennsylvania General Assembly can legislate state-level redistricting reform, municipalities nevertheless have a vital role to play in pressing for it. To date, 307 other municipalities have passed a fair districts resolution like the one being introduced today, or that was introduced. Their governing bodies, which comprise both Republican and Democratic majorities, represent 56% of the state's population. It's time for Philadelphia City Council to pass a fair districts resolution too. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Sarah Shulman.
Good afternoon. My name is Sarah Stroman, a volunteer and advocate for fair districts and other issues. I'm here today because I'm sick and tired of dysfunction in our PA legislature and Congress. It's frustrating and wrong that practically all the decisions that are made in our state legislature are made by a handful in leadership. It's sickening that gerrymandering is a legal practice whereby it is legal to disenfranchise voters. We know there are multiple ways of disenfranchising voters, and this is one of them. Our elected officials should not be drawing the lines for the districts in which they are running for election. The voters should decide who hold elected office, not the politicians. I am frustrated for my representative who goes to work every day trying to do what we ask her to do, and her voice is effectively and sometimes literally squashed. Thereby my voice is squashed and the issues I care about don't get addressed. No one deserves to be demonized and ignored due to their party affiliation alone. I want to be proud of my state legislature, and right now, largely due to gerrymandering and the extremes it promotes, we are the least productive full-time state legislature in the country, aside from Congress, which suffers the same ills. This is nothing to be proud of. I am deeply grateful to Councilman Jones for introducing the redistricting resolution today so that the people of Philadelphia can send a strong message to Harrisburg that we have had enough.
Joe Danahill.
Best for last again. This is an official decree of the people, and remandamus quo warranto, as such requires immediate action and remedy. Every week, council, mayor, governor, and others transfer private property to government, probably illegally. Duty doesn't give a damn if you're having a bad day. Duty doesn't give a damn if you don't feel like it. Gettysburg, Arlington, and countless other cemeteries are filled with people who perform their known duty or task. Would people volunteer to serve overseas if they knew their government was stealing their neighbor's home? Officials avoiding their known duty or task must be prosecuted to prove that the government honors veterans' sacrifices. Why hasn't the Attorney General investigated and prosecuted the numerous complaints filed by me? Why hasn't the sheriff, the police, or the state police in this very room arrested any official for the theft of my home and theft of my just compensation? The constitutions require me a remedy of this breach of law, breach of clothes, breach of fiduciary duty. Your oath of office requires you to act or face prison. 42 U.S.C. 1982, 1983, 1985, 1986, 1987. 18 U.S.C. 241, 242, 2381, 2384. PA Constitution, Article 1, Sections 1 through 28. 26 PA CSA, 703, 705, 708, 709, 711, 712, 713, 716, 902, and other laws listed in SCOTUS 1589-65 appear violated. I call on the federal and Commonwealth governments to perform their constitutional obligations, to investigate and prosecute all involved in the theft and illegal deed transfer of my home, 1038 West Wyoming Avenue. The denial of God-given 42 U.S.C. 1982 property rights for 25 years is egregious, extraordinary, oath-violating, and requires immediate remedy. A just government must obey the rule of law.
Thank you.
I remind Council, it takes a lot of cooperation to create and allow all of this monumental corruption.
Thank you for your testimony, sir.
There are no other speakers in the public comment list, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. We will now move to our calendar. We will now consider today's bill consent agenda. I would ask the clerk to read the titles of all of the bills on the consent agenda. After each title is read, any member may object to the inclusion of the bill on the consent agenda. Upon such an objection and without debate, the bill will be immediately removed from the consent agenda and placed on our regular final passage calendar. Mr. Decker, if you will now read the titles of the bills on the consent agenda.
Bill number 190353, entitled an ordinance authorizing the City of Philadelphia Department of Public Health on behalf of the city to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Department of Human Services, whereby additional funds can be made available to city federally qualified health centers. And bill number 180950, entitled an ordinance amending section 9205 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled permits for curb loading zones, to exempt businesses on streets with designated bicycle lanes from any fee for designation of a curb loading zone. And bill number 181009, entitled an ordinance establishing no truck parking and tow-away regulations on both sides of Decatur Road from Red Lion Road to Comley Road. And bill number 181046, entitled an ordinance revising parking regulations for South Street from 21st Street to 27th Street. And bill number 190085, entitled an ordinance granting permission to a licensed tour vehicle operator to operate on the west sidewalk of South Independence Mall West, formerly 6th Street, between Randstead and Chestnut Streets, the location formerly operated by Ride the Ducks Sightseeing Tours, an existing prefabricated metal ticket booth and merchandising kiosk with signage. And bill number 190103, entitled an ordinance establishing a no truck parking and tow-away regulations on both sides of McNulty Road from Southampton Road to Townsend Road. And bill number 190104, entitled an ordinance establishing no truck parking and tow-away regulations on Townsend Road. And bill number 190105, entitled an ordinance establishing parking regulations in the vicinity of Rittner Street and South 12th Street, Camac Street and Moore Street, South 11th Street and Tasker Street, South 12th Street and Tasker Street, Morris Street and South 9th Street, Morris Street and South 6th Street, Morris Street and South 11th Street. And bill number 190121, entitled an ordinance authorizing the revision of lines and grades on a portion of City Plan number 194 by striking from the City Plan the southerly 10 feet wide portion of Burke Street from Howard Street to Hope Street. And bill number 190184, entitled an ordinance adding a new chapter 123400 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Use of an Automated Speed Enforcement System to Improve Safety on Roosevelt Boulevard, to provide for the use of automated cameras to determine speeding violations on Roosevelt Boulevard, and to establish a system of enforcement and administration. And bill number 190209, entitled an ordinance amending section 9205 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Sidewalk Sales, by prohibiting vending on City Avenue between Haverford Avenue and 77th Street. And bill number 190210, entitled an ordinance authorizing Fox television stations to install, own, and maintain planters at 330 Market Street, all under certain terms and conditions.
These bills having been read on 2 different days, the question for each bill now is, shall the bill pass finally? The clerk shall call the roll, and upon being called, each council member shall vote aye on each of the bills, nay on each of the bills, or indicate those bills for which the member is voting aye and those bills for which the member is voting no. Mr. Decker, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass.
Aye on all bills.
Councilwoman Blackwell.
Aye on all bills.
Councilman Dom.
Aye on all bills.
Councilman Green. Councilman Greenlee. Councilwoman Gim.
Aye on all bills.
Councilman Heenan.
Aye on all bills.
Councilman Johnson.
Aye on all bills.
Councilman Jones.
Aye on all bills.
Councilman O'Neill. Councilman O.
Aye on all bills.
Councilwoman Parker.
Aye on all bills.
Councilwoman Quinones Sanchez.
Aye on all bills.
Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Aye
Councilman Squilla. Councilman Taubenberger.
Bills.
Council President Clark.
Aye on all bills. Majority of all members having voted in the affirmative for each of the bills on the consent agenda are passed. Thank you. We will now consider the bills and resolutions on the regular second reading and final passage calendar. Yes. Yes, Councilman.
Mr. President, I'd like to be recorded as aye on all the bills on the consent agenda.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you.
The record shall reflect that Councilman O'Neill voted aye on all bills on the consent agenda. Mr. Decker. Where are we at? We got 198, 242.
A resolution condemning the Trump administration's proposal to eliminate funding for the Special Olympics. Introduced by Councilman Green.
You doing it? Chair recognizes Councilwoman Kiona Sanchez.
Thank you, Council President. I move that this bill be placed in the suspension calendar, that the rules of council be suspended to allow for it to be removed to the suspension calendar.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution number 190-242 will be placed on a suspension calendar. Mr. Decker, please read the title of 190-346A.
A resolution authorizing the establishment of a special committee on child separation in Philadelphia to investigate child separation in Philadelphia's child welfare system and develop recommendations to ensure compliance with state child protective services law to protect children and due process rights of families and prevent the unnecessary breakup of families.
Chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, the issue of child separation is obviously a serious issue. I think we all would agree on that. And it's certainly something that should be looked at in a very intense manner. I would argue respectfully this is not the right approach as proposed by this resolution to set up a special committee. We already have 2 standing committees that could address this issue. And I think most importantly, we have a task force that was set up, I believe, in last June that is dealing with the various issues of DAS, including this. And they include the all important entities, including DHS, including the school district. And that would seem to be, at least one of those places would seem to be the appropriate place to deal with the issue, with this particular issue. I understand that task force, again, has met at least a dozen times. I think we need to show a consistent approach to this issue. We already have, it's already being looked into. To have another special committee set up and have them crisscrossing into each other, I think is the wrong approach. I think it sends the wrong message to all of those who are concerned, including the state, who will be looking at what we're doing. So while I would argue that we do not approve this resolution, I want to be clear, we are not rejecting the issue of child separation. We are rejecting this particular method of addressing it, and I think we all want to...
Folks, you had the opportunity of public comment, and we're going to have the vote, and we're going to have information from the members. All right. Councilman, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, I want to repeat, we are not rejecting this issue of child separation. We all agree it's an important issue, but I think we should reject this particular approach and deal with the entities and the committees that are already set forth and all work together to try to address, again, this very important issue. So I would ask members to vote no on this resolution. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Oh, folks, we're not going to do that today, okay? We're not doing that today, all right? Folks, just calm. All right, just calm down. I'm telling you, folks. You have had your opportunity for your public comment, and we will have a vote. I'm telling you, listen to me. We're going to have a vote today on the resolution. Okay? There will be a vote on the resolution. Okay. Folks, we're not going to do this. I'm telling you. We're going to have a vote on the resolution. Okay. Councilman O, did you want to be recognized? You change your mind?
I thought it was time to make a motion, but I think there's
No, it was time for a speech like we do every week. All right. You had your light on. You did not want to be recognized?
Yeah, I'll be recognized.
It was for the,
Sure.
You're on your light for the motion?
Sure.
I got you. I'm sorry. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do have a point of information, and it is clear by the anguish and the pain that we hear in the voices of these parents is absolutely heart-wrenching. The point of information is, and in many ways I'm going to punctuate what Councilman Bill Greenlee has already articulated. To be sure, we have the Committee on Health and Human Services, which is one place where we can go for parents and those who care about the life chances of our children to have a voice, to have a say, and oftentimes their way. We also have the Committee on Children and Youth, where parents and those of us who care about our children get a chance to have their say and in many times get their way. I learned in doing some homework this morning that we also have a task force that has been convened under the leadership of Councilwoman Gim and Councilwoman Kenyatta Johnson. So for me, it would be very, 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 very useful to get an update on where they are and tackling every single issue that's articulated in this resolution needs to be examined, needs to be looked at with a laser beam. The point of information I'm asking is, of these issues introduced in this resolution, are they being captured in the task force that is currently already convened by Councilwoman Gim and Councilman Kenyatta Johnson? That's the point of information I need. Secondly, are we slicing hairs here? Are we slicing hairs? Are we able to achieve everything this resolution requires? And yes, we do need to look at the issue. Are we able to achieve everything in the resolution by way of the task force that has been in place for X number of months? So it would be very, very helpful for me to hear an update on the task force at this hour prior to calling on a vote.
Thank you. Who is, folks, come on, y'all. The request, Come on. So, who is, the task force was convened, who is going to be the person that's going to respond?
My limited understanding is
Chair
that-
recognizes, hey folks, seriously, we really need you all to be quiet, please, so we can conduct the business. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gim.
Thank you very much, Council President. First of all, I want to absolutely acknowledge the people who are in this room, many of whom have pushed us to go this far. In June, this council convened and established a task force to take a look at the issue of youth in residential treatment facilities. Obviously, many of them are separated from their families, but the issue has gone quite broad as well. We're looking at issues of separation, but more importantly, also issues of what we need to do to bring families back to health and healing. Since we established the task force started meeting. We have multiple members of the task force. They include the School District of Philadelphia, the District Attorney's Office, the CBH, DBH, city agencies, council member offices, and our advocates, the Defenders Association, Education Law Center, and others who have Juvenile Law Center, who are taking a serious look at reducing on the front end and also ensuring the safety of young people in these treatment facilities. We started meeting in November. We've met over 14 times, including a town hall that brought out 150 families, showing us how we both need to do better and how we can do better. This is,
Folks, if you don't want to, you really.
There are parents who are represented on the task force as well as young people. And we will commit to we have committed already to doing another town hall on this very issue, for which we will invite people, including members of the task force, to be available. We are moving towards recommendations that will see a significant reduction around youth in these facilities. They include, we expect to have those recommendations hopefully as early as September. But we would like to see that move towards fruition and invite, members of those who are interested in the special committee to join us on the task force and be part of that solution that we are creating, the recommendations that we have. I understand the pain that a lot of people in this room are facing. We also have a big systemic problem, and we need all people at the table to try and get this under control. I'm committed to it. I'm in my first term, and we've already seen things move. For those of us who are on council, we are taking this issue very seriously, and certainly invite other council members to be part of that process. Thank you.
All right. Hey, Keith, you got to go off of there. Chair recognizes Councilman O. Folks, listen, hold, time out. Folks, if you all cannot participate in this way in a civil matter and let the council members speak, you're going to have to leave. You're going to have to leave. You can't have people hollering out from the audience. We gave you a chance to speak. You can't keep hollering out from the audience. All right? It's your choice. It's your choice. Man. Chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you very much, Council President.
Folks, can we have quiet, please?
The Committee on Health and Human Services, chaired by Councilman Bass, held a hearing based on a resolution that was passed in this body. It particularly had to do with DHS and whether the city agency, despite the good work that it does, its good mission, whether or not it was complying with state law. The issue is whether or not DHS as an organization routinely and intentionally violates state law, the Child Protective Services law. And from what I've seen, it does, it has, and it justifies it. DHS is also the entity that educates mandated reporters in this city, and it routinely violates the law. So under those circumstances, I think it is important to focus specifically on DHS. The mothers that are here today and the many, many mothers who have contacted my office and brought proof to my office have been going to their elected officials for years. This is not the first time that they've come to City Hall. I'm not the first elected official that they've been to. But they have come continuously and they have no confidence in this current system because despite all the evidence that they have presented that I've seen, medical records, photographs, videotape, testimony, all of those things, they have not been able to get a response, an appropriate response to their complaints. There is something wrong with DHS. The biggest problem that I have with DHS is that DHS tells us there's absolutely nothing wrong with them. And in the course of pursuing this, there have been threats made, threats intimated, that there will be retaliation, that there will be political consequences, all types of threats. And I wonder why. Why is that when all that we're doing is our duty to provide an oversight to an administrative agency that is responsible for protecting children? Why the threats? Why the problems? What I want to look at in this committee, and not whitewash it, sugarcoat it, hide it, or persecute it, I want to look and see whether or not the agency is in compliance with the law. I will say that I have, in looking at the evidence, and I have about 50 mothers who have voluntarily been videotaped. They said, videotape me, we videotape them, we have that. They're not being videotaped and presenting evidence because they're hiding something. They are mostly not at fault mothers, which means they were never accused of doing anything wrong. They were never accused of being abusive or negligent. In most cases that they have come forward, it was determined by DHS that the allegations were unfounded, yet they have been denied their children for years. Their children are being placed in multiple foster care situations where they are abused, they have run away, they are depressed, they're medicated, they're sexually violated. And it continues. And then when not at fault mothers, and no one has said they've done anything harmful to their children, comply with DHS. Get a GED, get a job, do everything they want. 2 years later, DHS tells them, but we are putting your child up for permanent legal custody. It happens too much. There's something definitely wrong. And finally, some of the facts that I've seen and confirmed are horrendous. What I mean is, I have accumulated evidence in a particular case that I've sent to the Attorney General's office, the U.S. Attorney's office. I have tried to give it to our district attorney, and it is because DHS has placed a 5-year-old child who has been raped by a boyfriend, tried to place that child with the boyfriend, claiming to the judge that this was the paternal father when that was not the paternal father. DHS then places the child with the girlfriend of that person. That 5-year-old child provided a medical report corroborated by her 10-year-old brother, of 2 years of rape. And DHS determined that the case was unfounded. There's no police investigation. That person, the rapist, is on the street. But DHS came to the grandmother's home and took the third grandchild without a court order. And that's on videotape. No court order. They handed a piece of paper, and when it was opened after taking the child in front of a police lieutenant and 6 police officers, that piece of paper was not a court order. Now, the judge, receiving a document from DHS, signed an order that the grandmother is to have no interaction with her 3 grandchildren. And now they have brought allegations against the grandmother as being mentally ill. This is not something that I think is just a general handling of this matter. I think these type of cases, and I'm clearly not saying this is routine, obviously not. What I am saying is these type of situations appear to occur in a system that is not complying with the law. It does a lot of good things, but we cannot ignore the complaints of constituents all over our city who have brought evidence and continue to bring evidence to their elected representatives seeking help. I would ask all of the council members to believe the women who are here today. The evidence will come out. Without an appropriate and proper committee to look specifically at this problem, despite whatever threats are being made, we will not get to the bottom of this. DHS cannot investigate itself. Thank you.
I have to come down off the podium for a second. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Decker, after the spirited debate, can you read the title of, one more time, of 190346A? I'm sorry, Councilwoman.
Didn't I get an answer to my question on clarity? And it is, Councilman O did say, and we all agree that DHS cannot investigate itself. My question on clarity was, given the heart-wrenching instances that Councilman O just spoke about, can they, are they, should they be addressed in the current task force currently in place to look at these very specific type of ugly circumstances? I need an answer from the sponsor of the bill on, is there a level of confidence that these issues will be addressed in the current task force that exists, which includes all the systems across the board that interface in trying to make a difference in the lives of children?
My answer is no, because that task force is looking at a very broad range of things, as it should, and this is a very narrow thing that we're looking at, and very specific.
Councilwoman, is that sufficient response?
So I would respectfully disagree. If the net is wide, then every instance that one can think of that touches the lives of children should be discussed, debated, figured out in that task force. We have multiple systems, if you will. We have multiple pathways to trying to make a difference in the lives of children. We have the Committee on Human Services, we have the Committee on Children and Youth, and we have a task force in place that has all of the players who lead those agencies at the table as we speak. And so I remain confused about why we are slicing the hair to achieve the very same end. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilman O?
Well, we're not slicing hairs. What happens is people can look at environmental issues, and then they could look specifically at air pollution. People can look at issues of crime, or they could look specifically at heroin opioid, or specifically gun violence among young people. You can look at crime. It'll take a long time. It's important to do. But in light of the urgency of this situation, I would say a specific task force to look specifically at DHS and whether or not it is complying with state law and the other issues that involve violation of the law by DHS itself.
Chair recognizes Councilman Heenan.
Just a point of information, is there an actual motion on the floor at this time?
Boy, there was going to be a motion by Councilman O. This is not a motion at this moment, but I think the councilman is not only going to ask for a motion, he's going to ask for a roll call vote.
Okay, I'm just, for clarity for,
Nah, not yet.
for the rest of the members.
Okay, we done? Councilman?
Thank you very much. I move for the adoption of the resolution. I ask for a roll call vote.
It's been moved and properly second on Resolution 190-346A. Mr. Decker, call the roll. Mr. Decker?
Councilwoman Bass. Councilwoman Blackwell.
Aye.
Councilman Dom.
Nay.
Councilman Green. Councilman Greenlee.
No.
Councilwoman Gim. Councilman Heenan.
Nay.
Councilman Johnson. Councilman Jones. Councilman O'Neill. Councilman O.
Aye.
Councilwoman Parker.
No.
Councilwoman Gunnarina Sanchez.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
No.
Councilman Squilla.
No.
Councilman Taubenberger.
No.
Council President Clark.
No. Ayes are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Ayes are 7. The nays are 9. The resolution is defeated. Mr. Decker. Yeah, I just said 9-7. 9 nays. Sorry, 8. 10 nays. 10 nays, 7 ayes. 10-7. Nay. 10-7. Correct. Can you come on, man? Councilman.
Chair recognizes Council President Clark. Council President Clark, you may proceed. Council President Clark has the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Not really interested in being dramatic, but I'm not able to speak up at the podium. So I just want to say one thing as we move ahead. All right, so, come on, man. Okay, let me, Don't. Hey, Ronnie. What are you talking about? Don't touch me.
Chair recognizes Council President Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I actually don't like coming down here because it reminds me of prior to me being the council president. So, but I have to do this, and this is an extremely emotional issue, all right? And there's no right or wrong on this issue. At the end of the day, there are challenges at DHS, but there are challenges as it relates to some of the treatment of children across the board. I mean, there's no denying that. And since this conversation has come up, I've talked to a number of people, and that the reality is that there needs to be issues. This is about the process of this council, right? When we all started this process in terms of establishing our committees and the structure of the council, we appropriately determined what committees would be adopted and subsequently put members in place on those various committees that had levels of expertise on the various committees to deal with issues like this, right? So this is a process issue. And again, I'm not going to get into, because there's no winners and losers. The fact that we have such an emotional conversation in here today tells us that this is something that is very important, because there's nothing more important than one's child. As we move forward, I would like to ask the members of this council, committees, we have to believe we probably have 2 committees that can deal with this. I believe that the existing task force that has been working on this and other issues, we have a conversation next week to see how we proceed, because we need to come up with some conclusion on this, and we need to do it in a relatively, expedited manner. As a longtime member of this council, I don't like seeing us divided. We have been pretty successful in having consensus, and every now and then we disagree. But I don't like us disagreeing on an emotional issue that I think can be resolved in a meaningful way. So I'm only down here because I can't say that up there. So next week we'll be reaching out to the members of my colleagues and the members of this council to talk about a process that will allow us to get to some facts as it relates to this issue so we can specifically focus on solutions. So, Mr. Chairman, that's all I wanted to say. Couldn't say it from up there. I just wanted to say that we will be reaching out among all the members so we can deal with this issue, so we can have some conclusion to this very, very emotional issue. All right, thank you, Chair. All right.
Thank you, Council President.
Okay. Mr. Decker, we're on 372. Mr. Decker, can you please read the title of 190-372? Oh, I'm sorry. A couple members wanted to speak. I'm sorry. Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was absent for the consent agenda votes, and I'd like to be recorded as voting aye on all bills and resolutions on the consent agenda.
Thank you. Thank you. The record shall reflect that, Councilman. Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President. I was out of the chambers when the consent agenda was read. I would like to record it as voting aye on all bills and resolutions that may have come up during the consent agenda during my absence.
All right. Thank you, Councilman. The record shall reflect the Councilman voting aye on all consent agendas and resolutions. Mr. Decker, 190-372.
A resolution approving the redevelopment contract of the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority for the redevelopment and urban renewal of a portion of the Germantown redevelopment area identified by house number and street address as 65 West Penn Street.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Bass.
Move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. 190-372 is adopted. Mr. Decker, 190-387.
A resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Land Bank to dispose of 805 North 40th Street and 818 North 40th Street located in the 3rd Councilmanic District.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution 190-387 is adopted. Mr. Decker, 190-391.
A resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority to dispose of certain properties located in the 2nd Councilmanic District, which will be transferred by the city to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority by conveyance of such properties to the Philadelphia Land Bank.
Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Council President, I move the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. 190-391 is adopted. Mr. Decker, 190-392.
A resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Land Bank to dispose of 4707 Hawthorne Street, 237 West Thayer Street, 2923 North Oriana Street, 3415 Tampa Street, and 2901 North 6th Street located in the 7th Councilmanic District.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Keona Sanchez.
Move for its adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. 190-392 is adopted. Mr. Decker, 190-395.
A resolution authorizing the creation of a zoning code review commission as an agency of City Council to evaluate and recommend improvements to Philadelphia's zoning code.
Chair recognizes Councilman O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution 190-395 is adopted. Mr. Decker, go to the last page. 190-315.
An ordinance amending Title IX of the Philadelphia Code entitled Regulation of Businesses, Trades, and Professions by adding a new chapter, 94700, to provide protections for parking employees against wrongful discharge.
This bill has been heard on 2 separate days. The question is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass.
Aye.
Councilwoman Blackwell.
Aye.
Councilman Dom.
Abstain.
Councilman Green.
Aye.
Councilman Greenlee.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gim.
Aye.
Councilman Heenan.
Aye.
Councilman Johnson. Councilman Jones. Councilman O'Neill. Councilman O.
No.
Councilwoman Parker.
Aye.
Councilwoman Keona Sanchez.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Aye.
Councilman Squilla.
Aye.
Councilman Taubenberger.
No.
Council President Clark.
Aye. The ayes are 13. Nays are 4. Majority of members present voting in the affirmative, the bill passes. Chair recognizes Councilman. Did you? The next one? Okay. Mr. Decker, please read the title of 190316.
An ordinance amending Section 9601 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Garages, Parking Lots, Sales Lots, and Sales Showrooms to add requirements for sufficient staff for parking garages, parking lots, and valet services.
This bill has been heard on 2 separate days. The question is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass.
Aye.
Councilwoman Blackwell.
Aye.
Councilman Dom.
Abstain.
Councilman Green.
Aye.
Councilman Greenlee.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gim.
Aye.
Councilman Heenan.
Aye.
Councilman Johnson.
Aye.
Councilman Jones. Councilman O'Neill.
No.
Councilman O.
No.
Councilwoman Parker.
Aye.
Councilwoman Cunha Sanchez.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Aye.
Councilman Squilla.
Aye.
Councilman Toppenberger.
No.
Council President Clark.
Aye. Ayes are 12, the nays are 4. Majority of members present voting in affirmative, the bill passes. Mr. Decker, I'm sorry. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you,
Sorry about
Mr.
that.
President. Let me take this opportunity to start by thanking our colleagues for voting in the affirmative for bill numbers 190315 and 190316, and want to note for the record that they were all introduced by council members Parker, Green, Gim, and Quinones Sanchez. So I want to thank them for their co-sponsorship and all members of council who voted in the affirmative. We are one step closer, Mr. President, to doing our best to close the gap between the haves and the have-nots here in the city of Philadelphia. And I think when you look at the issues that members of this body have addressed during the last 4 years, each of us and each policy in a different way, I think we've done our best to put forth initiatives that would do what I referenced earlier. I want to note for the reference of the public who are listening, and we don't know what the narrative is that you've heard about this work, but I want you to know that we've been working to address the issues relative to parking workers for about 3.5 months now, after residents of the 9th Councilmatic District came to visit us to tell us about their working conditions. We've had numerous meetings, phone calls, emails with parking workers, in addition to that, industry representatives. You know, we held a hearing. We not only heard about parking workers working long hours at low pay and struggling to get by, we also heard about issues regarding staffing and fears about job security, and for being fired for speaking out about harsh working conditions or just simply trying to organize. And so after that, we introduced bill numbers 190315 and 190316. The first would require parking employers to demonstrate just cause in order to fire or indefinitely suspend an employee, or to reduce their weekly work schedule by more than 15%. The second one adds requirements to existing language in the city code for sufficient staff for parking garages, parking lots, and valet services. And both of them do a whole lot more. But what I want to note for the record, Mr. President, is that we were also very clear that we heard the industry. And the industry shared with us that they were bearing the brunt of a significant tax burden here in the city of Philadelphia. And I said to them, I would hope that they would view these two legislative proposals as an effort to gain allies in their fight to help lessen the tax burden on that industry. And it is with that mind that I am hoping that the workers who are here, along with the industry representatives who I know know are paying attention to what we're doing. After you leave here today, hopefully the directive will be that you will reach some common ground to make sure that workers are working in the conditions that they deserve, and they are earning a living wage that will allow them to pursue and achieve self-sufficiency, because there should be dignity in all work, and that the industry knows the greatest allies in doing what you want to accomplish, which is going to be a pretty heavy lift, is to make sure that you have these workers on your side when you pursue this equality as it relates to the tax structure. Thank you so very much, Mr. President, and to all of the workers here today, because this is not about us. This is for you. Your stories did this. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilwoman. And Mr. Decker, you have any additional resolutions?
A resolution recognizing Sarah Glover for her historic tenure as the 21st President of the National Association of Black Journalists, introduced by Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Chair recognizes Councilman O. Who did you say?
Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Oh, Reynolds Brown. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. The motion is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing May 20 to May 26, 2019 as National Emergency Medical Services Week in the City of Philadelphia, and further honoring Philadelphia Paramedic of the Year, Christian Appelt, introduced by Councilman Heenan.
Chair recognizes Councilman Heenan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to make a brief comment on EMS Week next week, and further recognizing Christian Appelt for their service to paramedics and front lines in our life-saving system that we have here in our police or our fire department and our risk reduction. All right, every day they are out on the front lines, and this particular person, this award recipient, was in Kensington when it was one of the busiest EMS responders in the country, in the country. So they're out there every single day, making sure that we are a safer community and get the necessary help needed in a quick and efficient way. Next week is EMS Week. That's the week where you have a lot of education and community partnerships with our paramedics, EMS department, and fire department. I'm encouraging all the city of Philadelphia to be on the lookout with that, because they are on the front lines providing daily life-saving services to members of the community. They're in our schools. They're teaching techniques like CPR, how to stop the bleed, administering Narcan, which is so needed today in the environment of the opioid epidemic, and how to use the AED, which is an ongoing conversation that we're having here in the city of Philadelphia. So they provide a vital necessary service for the health and safety on the front lines of our city of Philadelphia, and I ask that this resolution be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing the Philadelphia Muslim community and acknowledging May 5, 2019 through June 4, 2019 as the holy month of Ramadan, introduced by Councilman Jones.
Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for its adoption.
Been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution is adopted.
And a resolution authorizing the Committee on Commerce and Economic Development to hold hearings regarding the PHL Neighborhood Growth Project, introduced by Councilman Green.
Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution is adopted.
And a resolution declaring May 2019 as Older Americans Month and recognizing the contributions of older Americans in the city of Philadelphia, introduced by Councilman Taubenberger.
Chair recognizes Councilman Taubenberger.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution is adopted.
And a resolution authorizing City Council's Committee on Streets and Services to hold public hearings regarding accountability for the state of road surfaces in Philadelphia, introduced by Councilman O.
Chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you very much. I move for adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution is adopted.
And a resolution welcoming the esteemed LRRP Rangers of I Company 75th Rangers to Philadelphia on the occasion of their national convention and thanking them for their distinguished service, introduced by Councilman O.
Chair again recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you very much. I move for adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing the United States Army for providing for the safety and security of the nation since its creation in the city of Philadelphia 244 years ago, introduced by Councilman O.
Chair again recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you. I move for adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution is adopted.
There are no other resolutions on the final passage calendar, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Mr. Decker, speeches on behalf of the minority. Speeches on behalf of the majority. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Yes, Mr. President, I too am moved to speak very briefly about this experience we just had this afternoon. And I tip also to the scale of process, and that process can't matter sometimes. Process can't matter when it's comfortable and convenient. Process can't matter when it's an issue in our best interest. Process has to matter all the time, especially during times of controversy. And so I'm going to lean on my colleagues, Councilman O, Councilwoman Gim, and Councilman Kenyatta Johnson, who have been up close and personal with this issue, and asking that we figure out how we can be allies, because we all want the same thing, but figure out how we can be allies in yielding the recommendations that are going to change the paradigm that exists at DHS and how they are or are not taking care of our children. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Council Lady. Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to take a different direction, maybe a lighter note, but to recognize Mr. Fenton, Mr. Carter, Councilman Squilla, Councilman Green, Ms. Hayward, Councilman Jones, myself, as the silver medalist in the Dadville Regatta, representing City Council, and say we had a good time, but it was all about raising awareness for the summer camp, both by Temple, City of Philadelphia, so that urban kids can experience that water, that river like we did. And thank you for all of the cheerleaders that came out and all of the prayers to keep us from sinking, both prior teammates and current teammates. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman, there was actually some conversations about presenting you guys with a councilmatic citation this Thursday, but the concern was that some people, some naysayers would say it was a conflict of interest because we presented it to ourselves, so we had to, but you all are duly noted, and your prediction was more than true. Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President. Also, I want to commend my colleague, Councilmember Curtis Jones, for leading the initiative on rowing. It was an eye-opening experience both last year and this year, but also not realizing the number of opportunities for scholarships that occur in the sport of rowing. And in fact, our coach, Brandon Johnson, is a young lady that I knew when I was a board president at Senator Park. And so I would get up early to run. She would get up and get on the water because she had a part-time group at that time, and then she left and started BLJ Community Rowing full-time. And so it was great to be reconnected with Ms. Johnson and her leadership and coaching to allow us to make it up the river without tipping over. But it was through Councilmember Jones' leadership to create this initiative and really expose me and I think a number of people, and I think especially a number of young people, to the opportunities for scholarships. This weekend is the Stokesbury Regatta, which is the largest regatta, I think, in the world for high school students, and it's a great opportunity for young people to get scholarships and pursue higher education without having debt. Along those lines, since we've been talking about Mr. Forth, yesterday we had the great opportunity of having a great press conference in the 4th Council District, and there was a constituent that was looking at his mail, and it was at his mother's house, and he was taking care of his mom, who was a little more seasoned than some of us. And he knows this postcard that had someone he knew from Overbrook on the postcard. His name was Councilmember Curtis Jones, regarding the Water Sewer Line Protection Program. And because he saw Councilmember Jones's name on the postcard, he said, this is something I need to sign up, especially for my mother's home. Almost about a week or two later, about a month and a half later, let me correct the record, they received a shutoff notice regarding water at their house because there was a water problem. He contacted American Water Resources, and within 4 days, they were there to make the repairs. They also, broke up the concrete and even came back and repaired the concrete. So yesterday, they were able to save about $5,000 in repair bills through the American Water Resources and the Philadelphia Energy Authority, which is an institution that you created, Council President, the Water Sewer Services Line Protection Program. So yesterday, we had a press conference in front of this constituent's house in the 4th Council District, and it was announced that we've been able to save over $1 million to homeowners in just 6 months through the Water Sewer Service Line Protection Program. Over 57,000 people have signed up for the program. For those who want to sign up still, it's less than $8 a month, less than $100 per year. We've also saved the Water Department over 100,000 kilowatts of energy through this new program that we just started about 6 months ago. In addition, all the repairs that have been done for homeowners in the city of Philadelphia that have been able to save $1 million, 80% of that work went to minority and women-owned contractors here in the city of Philadelphia.
Wow.
So this has been a great win-win-win program for the city of Philadelphia. I know Councilmember Tasco helped start this concept. I was able to take the baton and carry it forward with the help of all the members of the city council here and kind of replicate a great program that's been doing good work around the country through the National League of Cities. I'm glad we were able to have the announcement yesterday in Councilmember Jones's district and see what great progress we've made in the 6 months. I can only imagine what additional progress we'll make in a year. So thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman. That concludes our speeches today. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown for a motion to adjourn.
Yes, Mr. President, I move that council stand adjourned until Thursday, May 23rd, 2019 at 10 a.m.
Moving probably second, the council stand adjourned until Thursday, May 23rd, 2019, 10 a.m. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you all very much.